I'm Peggy. Thank you so much for tuning us in today. And I think perhaps you and I together have a chance to learn a lot. And in just a moment, we're going to visit with Kathy Belden, who is a physical therapist with the Greenville Hospital System, the Cancer Institute, and she helps people live victorious lives. And we're going to talk to her. She makes her home in Asheville and commutes every day to the Greenville area. And we're going to talk with her in just a minute, but I want to take a second to share something with you that really upset me. And there are a few, if you watch my show very often, you know there are a few things I get upset about. One of them is smoking, and we try to get people to put down the cigarettes, especially young people. I'm always talking about that. And the other thing is drinking and driving. And there was an article in the paper, and I cut it out because it touched me so deeply. And this is MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. And it's a national program, and we have chapters all over our area here in the Southeast, and they do a great job trying to help people understand how very dangerous this is. But recently, there was a mother and a little boy going out for a pizza to celebrate the little boy's good grades in school. And they were hit by a drunken driver. And the thing that made this to me so terrible was the fact that this man had already been arrested, charged 6 times with DUI. He had no business on the highway. And I wanted to share that. It upset me. And I think MAD is trying to bring this to the forefront. And what we desperately need is these ignition interlocks, where if someone is apprehended for driving while under the influence, they get one of these locks, and it could be life-saving. And we need to contact our legislators and tell them that we here need these things available to put on cars. And if that had been available, this man would not have been free to harm this little boy. He was in critical condition. It happened in Lexington, South Carolina. And I pray that he and his mother are all right. But the thing you've got to understand is only we can do something about this. And we can call our legislators. There are already 27 states who have these ignition interlocks available, and we need to go forward with that. So call your legislators, get involved, because that's the only way we can make our world safer and better. Now, I've had my little spiel, and I'm going to introduce you to some very special lady, Kathy Belden. Thank you, Kathy.
Hi.
From Asheville.
From Asheville, yes.
Okay. And you are a physical therapist, and you have the thing that I found so interesting. You have a degree from
Western Carolina University.
Western Carolina, and you also have a degree in dance.
My undergraduate degree's in dance, yes.
And I thought, that's very interesting, because now you teach people how to move.
I do a lot of movement, and I do a lot of movement analysis, yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we hear so much about cancer, and it's almost an epidemic.
It's scary. Western medicine is getting better at diagnosing cancer early, and so that's why I think we hear about it more often.
Is that why we hear so much more about it, is because they're finding it earlier?
They're finding it earlier. We're doing more research to figure out what causes it, how to treat it. People are living longer with a cancer diagnosis, living longer in survivorship. So I think it's not quite the sentence that it used to be. People are surviving for a long time with this.
The word cancer is terrifying.
It can be very scary for patients and their families. Yes, it can. It absolutely can.
And this is all ages. It doesn't matter what race, what age, what section of the country or the world you're in, it's everywhere.
Part of what the Cancer Institute is trying to do is to bring together many different professions so that we can support people who have a cancer diagnosis and have survived cancer. And we consider people survivors from diagnosis.
Okay, now you work with a certain...
I work with people who have lymphedema.
All right, now tell us, all of us novice, what is lymphedema?
Lymphedema is a disruption to the lymphatic system. And the lymphatic system is our immune system. It's directly tied to the vascular system. So our heart pumps blood through arteries, and it goes to smaller vessels till it gets to the capillary level. When it gets to the capillary level, the fluid part of the blood and some proteins from the blood leave the bloodstream. They come out into the everywhere little nook and cranny space. And that's how all of our cells get nutrition and give up their waste products. So
It's kind of magic, isn't it, when you
it's
think
pretty
about
magical. It is.
Yeah.
The venous system picks up about 80 to 90% of that fluid and returns it to the heart. But the proteins are too big to get back into the venous system, because otherwise they just get taken back up and they wouldn't do what they're supposed to in the tissue. So the lymphatic system is responsible for moving all of those proteins that might have been out for an immune response, for coagulation, for nutrition, out into to feed the cells. That fluid, that 10 to 20% that didn't get taken up by the venous system, any bacteria, fungus, virus, dirt, pollen, tar that gets in through our skin that we ingest or inhale. Cancer cells, if we're breaking down old worn out cells or cells from, say, a bruise where we've had damage to some cells, the lymphatic system picks up all of that tissue and takes it into a separate vascular system called the lymphatic system. And so it goes from the everywhere space in our body into larger collectors, and those collectors run parallel to our arms and legs. And eventually it gets to a group of nodes, and the node separates out the fluid from the cellular material, and we start to break that cellular stuff down so we can deal with any virus, bacteria, and fungus. So you know, you go to the doc and they're feeling for glands, they're feeling for lymph nodes. The fluid continues and eventually dumps back into the heart. And we recycle about 2.5 liters of fluid in a 24-hour period.
We do what?
We recycle about 2 to 3 liters of fluid in a 24-hour period back into the heart from the lymphatic system.
The human body is amazing when you think about it.
It is incredible. It's incredible. And so lymphedema is a disruption to that collector system.
Okay.
In this country, the most common cause is cancer treatment.
So are you telling that the treatment that they give cancer patients is the cause of this?
The treatment that they use to save people's lives and extend people's lives sometimes causes damage to the lymphatic system.
Okay.
So if they have to take out lymph nodes because they're looking in lymph nodes for cancer cells, and we know that untreated cancer is not pretty, it's not good. So sometimes scar tissue from taking out a tumor, sometimes taking out lymph nodes, and the studies show that the more they have to take out, the more damage is done to the lymphatic system. Sure. And then sometimes radiation increase the risk of lymphedema. It's not a guaranteed cause of lymphedema. Studies are really vary on how many people get lymphedema after cancer treatment, and it's anywhere from 6% to 56%. It's really difficult to narrow down who gets lymphedema after cancer treatment, and huge numbers of people don't have any trouble at all.
And when you talk about, are you talking about radiation, chemo? Those are, those are the things most of us think about. If we know someone who is under treatment for cancer, those are the things that
you think
mind.
about.
And that destroys these.
No, not necessarily. The lymphatic system is very superficial. It's underneath the skin. It's above the muscle layer, but it's between my fingers. So radiation more than chemo, just the same way the sun changes the texture of your skin.
Yeah.
Radiation changes that texture too, and it just slows the lymphatic system down. And some people's lymphatic systems are robust enough. Some of that is just genetic. What genetic cards did you draw to not really be affected by that? And some people are. And Western medicine is not good at predicting who that's going to be yet. I know that if you've had a larger tumor, then you have a greater chance of developing lymphedema. I know that if you have had axillary node dissection where they took all of the nodes rather than sentinel node dissection, you're more likely to get lymphedema. And if you've had radiation with axillary node dissection, you're more likely to get lymphedema. But cancer treatment doesn't really cause lymphedema. It just increases the likelihood that you're going to develop it.
So you never know ahead of time who is a candidate to get it and who isn't.
We don't have an effective test for that yet. I tell patients it's a little like walking down a fence in the dark. You don't know you've fallen off till you hit the ground. We don't know that you're the person who's going to get lymphedema until your arm or your leg swells. We don't know it's going to happen until it does. So our goal is to educate patients from pre-op through post-op as to what to look for. And at GHS, at the Cancer Institute, we are accredited with the NAPBC, the National Accreditation Programs for Breast Cancer. And that accreditation tasks us with treating lymphedema patients pre-op. So we do free pre-op measures to have a baseline. What's your baseline for your arm or your leg, depending on where your cancer was? And then we can see patients post-op for education, and we can see patients if they have trouble.
And it is your job then, once this has occurred in a cancer patient, to help them move forward.
Yes.
And live productive lives, and it doesn't have to be the end.
No, it's not the end.
Okay.
I want cancer survivors to be able to do whatever it is they want to do. And I want the tools in place for them to be able to do that. And as a physical therapist, there are a couple of interventions that I do.
What we're going to do is go to a quick break, and we'll have a website and a phone number. And when we come back, I want you to address the things that we can do, positive things. We'll be right back.